Here's the full story based on your prompt. It's a compelling tale of mystery, transformation, and moral dilemmas. The tailor's shop. Tailor's tailor shop sat proudly on the corner of Maple and Vine, a beacon of fine craftsmanship in a bustling city. For over 20 years, Tailor had sewn, stitched, and tailored garments that adorned everyone from local teachers to high-powered executives. His reputation for perfection was unmatched, and his shop thrived because of it. Inside, the shop was a haven of order and tradition. Rows of neatly folded fabrics lined the shelves, each labelled with care. A vintage sewing machine stood as the centerpiece, surrounded by tools of the trade, scissors, measuring tapes, and spools of thread in every imaginable colour. Tailor, a wiry man in his late 50s, with sharp eyes and steady hands, took pride in his work. He treated every garment like a masterpiece, pouring his soul into every stitch. Business was booming, and Tailor's days were filled with appointments, fittings, and deadlines. He knew his clients by name and prided himself on his ability to bring their visions to life. The shop had become more than a workplace. It was a sanctuary where Tailor could lose himself in the art of tailoring. Until the day it all changed. The stranger. It was a rainy afternoon when the bell above the door jingled, signalling the arrival of a new customer. Tailor looked up from his work to see a man step inside. He was tall, with sharp features and an aura of quiet confidence. His suit was immaculate, yet something about him felt off. His eyes, piercing and cold, scanned the shop like a predator sizing up its prey. "Good afternoon," the man said, his voice smooth and deliberate. "I hear you're the best tailor in town." Tailor nodded, wiping his hands on his apron. "That's what they say. How can I help you?" The man reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He handed it to Tailor, who unfolded it to reveal an intricate design for a coat. The garment was unlike anything Tailor had ever seen. Ornate, with complex patterns and details that would challenge even the most skilled tailor. "I need this made," the man said. "And I need it done in 2 weeks." Tailor hesitated. The design was beautiful, but it was also daunting. The materials alone would be expensive, and the craftsmanship required was beyond anything he'd attempted before. Yet there was something compelling about the challenge. "I can do it," Tailor said finally. "But it won't be cheap." The man smiled, a thin, calculated smile. "Money is no object. I'll pay double your usual rate. But there's one condition. You must tell no one about this project." The commission. The man left a hefty deposit and vanished into the rain, leaving Tailor alone with the design. That night, as he studied the blueprint, he couldn't shake the feeling that this garment was more than just a coat. The symbols woven into the design seemed almost ritualistic. Tailor brushed off his unease and threw himself into the work. He sourced the finest materials, velvet as black as midnight, gold-threaded embroidery, and buttons carved from onyx. Each piece was rare and expensive, but the man's payment covered it all. As the days passed, strange things began to happen. Tools went missing from Tailor's workbench, only to reappear in odd places. He heard whispers late at night, though the shop was empty. Once, he found the design sketch moved, as if someone had been studying it while he slept. Tailor tried to ignore these incidents, chalking them up to exhaustion. But his unease grew with each passing day. The turning point. One evening, as Tailor worked on the intricate embroidery, the man returned for a fitting. He moved silently through the shop, his presence unsettling. As Tailor measured him, he noticed scars peeking out from beneath the man's shirt collar. Thin, jagged lines that crisscrossed his skin. "Is this for a special occasion?" Tailor asked, trying to make conversation. The man's lips twitched into a faint smile. "You could say that." He offered no further explanation, and Tailor didn't press. But his curiosity was piqued. After the man left, Tailor examined the design more closely. He realized the patterns weren't just decorative. They were symbols, arranged with a precision that suggested meaning. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Tailor began researching the symbols. He spent hours poring over old books and online forums, piecing together fragments of information. What he discovered chilled him to the bone. The symbols were linked to an ancient ritual, one that was rumored to grant immense power at a terrible cost. The climax. Tailor was torn. He had already poured countless hours into the garment, and the deadline was fast approaching. But now he understood that this coat was no ordinary piece of clothing. It was a tool for something dark and dangerous. On the day of the final fitting, the man arrived with an air of anticipation. The coat was ready, and it was a masterpiece. The black velvet shimmered like liquid night, and the gold embroidery seemed to glow in the dim light. It was the finest work Tailor had ever done. As the man tried it on, Tailor felt a surge of dread. The coat fit perfectly, as if it had been made for the man long before Tailor had ever laid eyes on the design. "It's perfect," the man said, admiring himself in the mirror. "You've outdone yourself." Tailor hesitated, his heart pounding. What is this for?" The man turned to him, his expression unreadable. "Let's just say it's for a performance, and you've played your part beautifully." Before Tailor could respond, the man handed him the final payment, a sum so large it made Tailor's head spin, and walked out of the shop. The aftermath. The next day, the news was filled with reports of a high-profile heist. A priceless artifact had been stolen from the city museum, and witnesses described a man in a black coat with gold embroidery. Tailor's blood ran cold. Over the following weeks, the shop's atmosphere changed. The once warm space felt colder, darker. Tailor couldn't shake the feeling that he had been complicit in something terrible. Customers noticed the change in him. He became quieter, more withdrawn. The shop's once thriving business began to decline as Tailor struggled to move past what had happened. One evening, as he was closing up, Tailor found an envelope on his workbench. Inside was a note, written in elegant handwriting. "Your work was exceptional. You've earned your place in history." Tailor burned the note, but the words stayed with him. He realized that no amount of money could erase the guilt or the questions that haunted him. Who was the man? What was the true purpose of the coat? And had Tailor's craftsmanship been used for good or for evil? Conclusion. The tailor shop never fully recovered. Tailor continued to work, but the joy he once found in his craft was gone. He became a ghost of his former self, haunted by the memory of the man who had walked into his shop and changed everything. Years later, Tailor would still find himself staring at the empty space where the coat had hung, wondering if he had made the right choice. But the answer, like the man's true identity, would remain a mystery. And so, the story of Tailor's tailor shop became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the smallest choices can have far-reaching consequences, and that some customers bring more than just business through the door. Then, let me know if you'd like any adjustments or additional details.